kids.
Good morning. That's great, guys, but take your seats, okay?
Oh, God.
So, think about a classroom, right? Back in the day, we've all seen this. There's always that one kid sitting up straight, eyes wide open, super eager to answer every question, just buzzing with energy. And then, a couple of seats over, there's another kid who's kind of gone. They're doodling in the corner of their notebook, physically there, but mentally miles away. And that makes me wonder, why does that happen? Why are some people so into it, while others just check out? Some even nod, off right in the middle of class. That's always been a big puzzle, hasn't it? Well, today we're going to meet someone who's been digging into exactly that. She calls it the hidden link between emotions and school success. Her name is Ana Belén Barragán Martín. She's a psychologist over at the University of Almería in Spain, and she's published a lot of research. One of her big studies is called emotional intelligence and its relationship with levels of social anxiety and stress in adolescence. But here's the thing. This kind of puzzle isn't something you figure out on your own. So Ana Belén teamed up with her colleagues and even joined forces with a team from the Universidad Autónoma de Chile. Together, they were chasing one big question. Why do some learners thrive while others fade out? And maybe, just maybe, our emotions be the hidden link between school and success. Let's pick up where Ana Belén and her team took the puzzle. They wanted to zoom in on what really drives students to keep learning. In their research, they called it academic engagement. Now, it might sound technical, but it's really pretty simple. Engagement is the spark that keeps learning alive. It's the drive to keep going, even when the work feels tough. And it's that deep focus where time just slips away because you're fully absorbed in what you're doing. And when learners have that spark, it changes a lot. They don't just do better in school. They also pick up resilience, values, and habits that carry over into their adult lives. Engagement even works like a shield. It keeps them from drifting off, from giving up, or from getting pulled into risky stuff. But here's the tricky part. Not every learner feels that spark. Sometimes, it starts to fade right in the teenage years, just when school gets tougher and expectations pile on. So they shaped their study around two big ideas. Could emotional intelligence help learners hold on to that spark? And could self-esteem be the bridge between emotions and learning? In other words, could confidence be the missing link? So, how did they actually check all of this out? Well, they looked at 1,287 students in public high schools in Almería, Spain. Ages ranged from 14 to 18, with the average around 15. And the group was almost half boys, half girls. Which is nice because it gave them a proper balanced view. First up, they wanted to see engagement. They asked 17 questions that tried to capture energy, dedication, and focus. Some were the kind of questions you might nod along to, like when I get up in the morning, I feel like going to school or studying. And the students had to say how often that felt true, from never to always. You can imagine some kids probably ticked, always like they were super keen, while others might have been a bit more, well, then they looked at emotional intelligence. 20 questions this time, covering things like understanding yourself, understanding others, handling stress, adapting, and overall mood. One cheeky little example was it's easy for me to tell people how I feel. You could probably guess some students found that easy, and some not so much. And finally, they wanted to see self-esteem. 10 questions, mixing the positive and the tricky ones. Positive ones were things like, on the whole, I am satisfied with myself. And the negative ones were the ones that might make you go, like at times, I think I am no good at all. The mix helped the researchers get a clearer picture of how each student really saw themselves. Oh, and everything was done in class. During school hours, students answered anonymously, and it took about half an hour. Everything was proper and ethical, of course, with permission from both students and their parents. Once the surveys were all wrapped up, the team started digging for patterns. They wanted to see how emotions, self-esteem, and engagement all fitted together. They kicked things off with correlations. Basically, they asked, Do students with higher emotional intelligence or higher self-esteem also show higher engagement? And the answer was yes. Across the board, when one went up, the others did too. You can see it in the table here. Think of it as a series of little signals. The higher the number, the stronger the connection. So, if emotional intelligence and engagement have a high number next to them, it means that students who are better at understanding and managing their emotions are also the ones who throw themselves into their schoolwork. Next, they compared groups. Students were divided by self-esteem levels: low, medium, and high. And the graph tells the story crystal clear. Those with high self-esteem scored the highest in energy, dedication, and focus. Those with low self-esteem scored lowest. You might notice the groups were not perfectly equal in size. So to make sure it was a fair comparison, the team used something called Welch's F-test. You don't need to worry about the maths. It just makes sure we're comparing apples with apples, not apples with oranges. Then came the question of the bridge. Could self-esteem be the link between emotions and engagement? And in some cases, it really was. Students who were good at handling stress or adapting to change saw their self-esteem rise, and that boost in confidence then helped engagement. In other areas, like mood and social skills, the connection was more direct. And here's something interesting. Even small improvements in self-esteem seemed to make a difference. It's like giving students a little push. They felt more capable, more motivated, and more involved in class. Over time, those small sparks added up to a big impact on learning. But the big picture was clear. Self-esteem was right at the heart of connecting emotions to learning. What does all of the research tell us? Well, emotional intelligence definitely helps students stay engaged. But the real game changer is confidence. Students who felt confident showed the most energy, dedication, and focus. Even if someone was good at understanding and managing their emotions, without that confidence, it wasn't enough to keep them fully engaged. Why does this matter? Because it shows us where to act. In schools, teachers and staff can create programs that help children build emotional intelligence and stay motivated. In families, parents and relatives can support children's confidence. They can come up with activities, encouragement, or just the right kind of guidance to keep kids from giving up or withdrawing. And in communities, when learners are engaged, risky behaviors drop. Things like skipping class or experimenting with dangerous stuff happen less. Many countries even have local programs or community activities to support this kind of engagement. The bottom line is simple. Emotions matter, but confidence is what makes them stick. So, what's the big takeaway? Ana Belén and her team showed us that emotions are important, but confidence is the hidden key. When adolescents believe in themselves, they bring more energy, more focus, and more enjoyment to learning. If someone asks, what is the hidden link between emotions and school success? The thing that makes some learners thrive while others struggle, we can say it's confidence or self-esteem. The lesson for all of us is clear. If we want learners to succeed, we need to help them find that spark of confidence. When it's there, the light of learning can reach far into the future.